So good afternoon to one and all. Now I request, now I welcome Professor V.V. Mani to this 5 days workshop, Atal workshop. And thank you, madam, for joining this workshop. Now I ask Kirtana to introduce madam to this audience.
Thank you, sir. I take pleasure in introducing our speaker for the session, Dr. V.V. Mani. Dr. V.V. Mani received her BE ME degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering from College of Engineering, Andhra University, and PhD in Electrical Engineering from IIT Delhi. She joined NIT Warangal in April 2008 as Assistant Professor in ECE Department, where she has been an Associate Professor since March 2018. Currently, she is heading Computer Center, NIT Warangal as additional duty. Prior to joining with NIT Warangal, she worked as software engineer, Capricorn Global Solutions Private Limited, Hyderabad. Worked as assistant professor at JITAM University and full-time research associate at IIT Delhi. Her area of interest includes wireless communication, signal processing for communication, optical communication, and design of real-time testbed for 5G using SDR. She has more than 60 papers in credit in national and international conferences and journals. She supervised 6 PhD students, and currently 5 more students are working under or towards her dissertation. She completed 3 projects and 4 more are ongoing with DST SERP, UKERI, Spark, Indian Asian with international collaboration. She visited many countries and presented her research papers. She spent 3 months at Rice University, Texas, USA under Research Exchange Program. She held various administrative responsibilities at NIT Warangal and also served as student branch counselor for IEEE student branch NIT Warangal and won Daryl Chang Bronze Award for Best Students Activities. Dr. Mani and her team deployed a wireless communication laboratory for MTech Advanced Communication Systems using SDR platform. She is a fellow of Institute of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers IETE, India, and senior member of IEEE. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. So, Selvaraj, shall I start my presentation?
Yes, madam, please.
Okay. So, I welcome you all again for today's second half of the workshop. And I'm indeed happy to share my presentation with you. And also, I thank IIIT D&M for inviting me as a speaker for this workshop. And in particular, I am very thankful to Dr. Selvaraj, as we are co-mates while doing our PhD work at IIT Delhi. So I'm today happy and share my experience with all of you. And this content is little away from the what you have proposed as machine learning concepts, but maybe you can use some of the machine learning algorithms for my present work as well, and we are also continuing the same. Okay, so coming to this, my presentation, my screen is visible, right?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So coming to my today's presentation, I will be presenting on visible light communication, concurrent illumination and communication. Okay. So the present thing, why do we go for an alternative technology in wireless communication? Because of the spectrum crunch. We already know that the entire spectrum is occupied, and the day by day the number of users are increasing in the wireless domain. So the devices are also increasing. So we have to search for other alternative technology, such as optical wireless communication. So which is actually emerged out during the year 2000, maybe 14, 16, around those years. The first coin was tossed by Harald Haas. He is from Edinburgh University, and he is the first one who tested the visible light communication test bed. Okay. So actually this OWC communication, that optical wireless communication is a cost-effective and optoelectronic devices we use. So like a diode and a photodiode. So diode emits current. So when diode is forward biased, it emits some electron flow happens. Because of that, it emits light. Okay. So this light is being collected from the photodiode. So here, where we use, we are going to see that some kind of a communication is happening between these two optoelectronic devices. And also the one advantage of visible light communication is it offers use and licensed free bandwidth and the range of 380 nanometers to 780 nanometers. And it is also one of the complementary to our RF-based wireless communication. Okay. Sorry. So coming to the system model, how it works, the visible light communication, how it works. If you look at the visible light communication, there are two devices. One is, so we have a light emitting diode as a transmitter and a photodetector is a receiver. Okay. So only these two are the difference. Rest of the block diagrams are same as our wireless communication. Maybe some circuitry, additional circuitry we have to go for it because diode conducts only in the positive direction. It cannot conduct in the negative direction. So when it cannot conduct in the negative direction, all your modulations and your voice messages are in sinusoidal format. Okay. So we have to bring them these sinusoidal formats or your messages into only a positive level. We have to eliminate all the negative levels. Like if I want to transmit a signal of a sinusoidal signal of this nature, my diode conducts only in this region. It cannot conduct in the other region. So what we can do, maybe we can clamp this signal to a higher position so that everything goes to the positive value and the entire region my diode can conduct. This is my 0th position. Okay. So some kind of techniques we have to impose for conversion of your real-time signal into which are compatible with your LED circuit diagram. So that is why we have designed a driver circuitry over here and some dimming is also applied because some amount of biasing always we have to apply to the LED so that it can conduct in the forward direction. So these all techniques I will be going to discuss in this class, and also what are the challenges available in wireless visible light communication, what is our upcoming work we are doing at NIT Warangal, and also we have tested this communication in a real time using a test bed, software defined radio based test bed, and also we could publish good amount of papers in this test bed as well. Okay, so if you look at the block diagram of a visible light communication signal and why it is important as well as not only for communication, is also for illumination. That's what the content of the today's talk. So many of the cities are already deployed with, deployed with LED lamps because we are going into the smart cities. So these LED lamp posts, we can also use them as our communication devices. So while traveling on the path, while traveling on the road, we can have a free Wi-Fi, right? So this is the technology where iPhone is also building up, and is also maybe in iPhone 6 they have started this VLC communication. So similar grounds. So to establish visible light communication transmitter receiver. So the first one is information source, encoder and modulator is same as in your wireless communication. Then we use a driver circuitry and a dimming circuit, and an LED is placed as a transmitter in place of your antenna. Then it is passed through the channel, and there is an optical concentrator which collects all the which collects all the light signal and concentrates it as a form of a beam. Then it is given to the optical filter. Then it is given to the photodetector so that the power of the power received through this photodetector will be more. We can decode those signals. Okay. Now, in this modulation techniques, if you see the modulation techniques, there are several variants of modulations are available for optical wireless communication. One is a single carrier and a multi-carrier, as we know. So single carrier is a low data rate and multi-carrier is a high data rate. And also there are other multi-carrier communications are also possible. So in single carrier, same as your amplitude modulation, your frequency modulation, right? So it is a digital communication. So we go for on-off keying and pulse width modulation, pulse position modulation, and constant amplitude modulation. And when it is coming to the multi-carrier, we all know about multi-carrier communication systems. So each band is divided into sub-bands. In each band, we are going to communicate through your orthogonal carriers. So the OFDM is one of its kind. So we use DCO OFDM, ACO OFDM, and PAM DMT, flip OFDM, hybrid varieties, and the ADO OFDM. So many variants are there in multi-carrier communication. Okay, so in this, the multi-carrier modulation techniques are generally based on orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. So, but the problem with LED, because it has a limited modulation bandwidth, right? We have a huge bandwidth of 382 to 790 nanometers, but as the LED component is considered, its modulation bandwidth is the light bandwidth compared to light bandwidth. This modulation bandwidth is based on the material used for manufacturing the LED. The bandwidth depends. Okay. And also we have to ensure that the real and positive signals are only transmitted to the LED, because as I said, suppose I want to communicate a sinusoidal signal, then if it is given to a diode, so it emits light when it is forward biased, right? And we collect the information through a resistance, we know it will act as only half wave rectifier. That means my full sinusoidal wave information, half the portion is eliminated, only another half is received through the LED. So what we have to make sure when we are transmitting your signal, we have to always try to see that the signal is always real and positive. Okay, that means it is passing through your LED circuit. So to make this inversion, to make this component compatible with your LED, we can go for an Hermitian symmetry criteria. I'm going to explain what is this Hermitian symmetry criteria. And also we use, because we are going for orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, OFDM. So we use fast Fourier transforms, inverse fast Fourier transform at the transmitter and FFT at the receiver. Okay. So the necessity of visible light communication, as already I have mentioned about the smart cities, they are employing light posts. So we can use the same light post for your communication. And also some of the applications, if you look at the visible light communication, the car-to-car communication, while traveling on the road, to avoid the collision between the cars, if the headlamps are communicated, headlamps and the back lamps, which are placed on top of the car, on the car, if they can communicate one-to-one, we can avoid the collision, right? So this is one of the new area where people are working on visible light in a vehicular communication. So there you can use a lot of machine learning algorithms to maintain the distance between the two vehicles, so that to avoid the collision between the vehicles. That means you are alerting the system through a machine learning algorithm, saying that you have to maintain automatically if it can control its velocity, speed of the vehicle. So we can totally avoid the collisions among the vehicles. Okay, and there is an integration of LED with a transport infrastructure is also possible, so that we can communicate between the devices. And you can find one survey paper on concurrent illumination and communication. It is a survey on visible light communication. It has been published in Physical Communication of 60 pages. So you can go through this paper and you can see what are the applications, what are the modulation schemes, how to do the channel estimation. All the preliminary concepts are well written, and it is also clearly mentioned about each system. At least a half paragraph was mentioned in this paper. Okay. Now, the optical OFDM, with the IMDD systems. That is, IMDD means intensity modulation and direct detection. Okay, so intensity is modulated. That means we are the light is actually is a source of your information of the source is converted into light when the signal is passed through the LED. So that means intensity is modulated, and direct detection. I am detecting the signal when light falls on your photodiode. Okay, so when light falls on your photodiode, we are collecting that information. So these systems are called actually IMDD systems, intensity modulation and direct detection systems. Now, if I said earlier, because LED always takes only real positive signals. Okay, so to maintain the real positive signal to be passed by your visible light communication system, that is through an LED, we are placing a Hermitian symmetry block in between the serial to parallel conversion and IFFT. So if you are aware of what is a OFDM system, the OFDM system has a mapping and a serial to parallel conversion, then we have an IFFT, then we add cyclic prefix. After adding the cyclic prefix, we apply that output to your antenna, right? So that is a basic wireless communication model. Now, what are the extra block diagrams we are using in visible light communication? So in this visible light communication, the extra modules we are using are Hermitian symmetry and bipolar to unipolar mechanism, the conversion block. So the rest of the blocks are same as the detection blocks in your receiver. So the detection block is the inverse procedure of what we have deployed in the transmitter. That is serial to parallel conversion, because we send it through serial to parallel conversion is used. I'm sorry, it is parallel to serial conversion. A serial to parallel conversion, we receive the signal and we remove the cyclic prefix and we apply FFT, then convert into a parallel conversion, and we do demapping. So this demapping based on your MPSK, QAM or PAM signals. So now we are going to see what is this Hermitian symmetry and what is the bipolar to unipolar device, which is used in visible light communication. Only these two are extra parts. So Hermitian symmetry is an extra part, and this one bipolar to unipolar is an extra block. We have been replaced in visible light communication. Rest of the concepts are same, only minor changes. So if you can play with Hermitian symmetry, if you can play with bipolar to unipolar conversion, so most of the content is converted from RF communication to visible light communication. So in this visible light, in Hermitian symmetry, so in the Hermitian symmetry, we are using n number of subcarriers. Okay, so that is OFDM system, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing system, where we use n number of subcarriers. So to make your signal output after passing, so this output, that is IFFT output, your IFFT output must be real signal. Okay, if you remember your IFFT system, suppose if I am giving n, that is n equal to 4, so I will give 4 inputs, 0th input, 1, 2, 3 input, then the output is also 4 system. If you give ones and zeros to your 1, 0, 1, 1, something like that, if you give it to the IFFT output is always a complex. You know the formula for IFFT, RFFT. Okay, so if I use FFT, if I use FFT over here, then my FFT output is, that is x of capital X of k is summation of n equal to 0 to capital N minus 1 x of n, I'm just writing the other way, e power minus j 2 pi k n by capital N. Okay, so this is my FFT output. So if you give input as ones and zeros, or you can try with all ones. So my x of n is equivalent to all ones. You can compute the FFT output. So if you compute the FFT output, the output always looks like some A plus JB format. That is a complex format. So all the outputs are in complex domain. Okay. So what we have to do, we have to make these complex values into only real part, only real signals. We have to convert them into only real signals. So to make this conversion, the Hermitian symmetry was proposed. So this is actually a DSP concept, and this DSP concept is used for our visible light communication. And the first author who proposed this Hermitian symmetry was by Harald Haas. So he only coined the toss for communication with the optical devices. So in this Hermitian symmetry, how do you impose Hermitian symmetry so that the output will become always a real valued signal? So here, what we do to make output as a real valued signal, suppose there are n number of subcarriers are there. So in this n number of subcarriers, the first subcarrier, that means the 0th subcarrier, and the middle subcarrier, n by 2 subcarrier, the first subcarrier and the middle subcarrier will keep as zeros. Okay, and the rest n by 2, from 1 to n by 2, we transmit as it is. That means we give these inputs as it is to your IFFT block. And the rest, that is after n by 2 component, will make complex conjugates of their original signals. So, okay, that means at n by 2 plus 1, we use complex conjugate of that n by 2 minus 1. And like that, we'll reverse the order of your signals. So they will come down to x conjugate of 1. X conjugate of 1. Okay. So that means this is transferred to x conjugate of 1. And x2 is transferred to the last system. Like that, x3 is transferred to this system. 4 is transferred to this system. They are in like the reverse order. We play with the reverse order. So what we have placed? We have placed 0 and x1 to x of n by 2 minus 1 as it is. Then we place a 0. Then, so these are mapped. How they are mapped? They are just taken complex conjugates of 1 to 1. Okay. So complex conjugates of 1 to 1. So this makes Hermitian symmetry. Now we'll see mathematically. That means x of 0 and x of n by 2, we made it as 0. X of 0 and x of n by 2, we made it as 0. And the Hermitian symmetry, how we are imposing, that is because after n by 2, before that n by 2 point is mapped to n by 2 plus 1 point. That means x of n minus k is simply x conjugate of k. This is the Hermitian symmetry imposition on your signals. Okay. So that means if you substitute those values, x of 0 is middle and n by 2 is middle, x1 to x of n by 2 minus 1 as it is, and rest of the values are complex conjugates. Okay. Now we apply these values into your calculation of the IFFT block and try to see what is the output we are going to get. So this is my equation, that is x of n 1 by n x of k e power j 2 pi k n by n, k 2 pi n k by capital N. This is my IFFT block output. Okay. So in this IFFT block, wherever x of 0 and x of n by 2, and use the Hermitian symmetry concept. So if you figure it out, what is the output of this signal? We are receiving x of 0 is 0 and n by 2 also we are making it as 0. The rest of the signals are x of k equal to 1 to n by 1 and n by 2 plus 1 to n by 1. These only remains. So if you substitute those corresponding values, so we will be obtaining this kind of waveform. Okay. So this waveform, that is x of n calculations, the output of your IFFT block, and we use the change of order of the limits and we rearrange the system. So we will be obtaining after rearranging the system, because x of n minus k conjugate is actually x of n minus k, we are placing it as x conjugate of k. So if you substitute those values into this equation, we will be obtaining a signal like a cos signal minus sin signal. Okay. So the Hermitian symmetry procedure makes your signal from complex domain to a real domain. So x of k cos 2 pi n k by n minus x of k sin 2 pi n k by n. So this is real signal, this is an imaginary signal, but imaginary part is vanished. There is no complex format. That is A minus J beta format is not there. We have only some values and cos minus some values and a sine format. So this is also called CAS, because we know cos A plus sine A, some format is there. So we'll generally use it as cos A. Okay. So that means by imposing a Hermitian symmetry, your signal has become a real signal, right? So we have achieved our goal, because the diode takes only the positive signal. It cannot take any complex domain signal. So we made the signal to positive always. But not only positive is sufficient. Not only the real signal is sufficient, because cos A and sin B or cos A and sin A multiplied with their corresponding x of k's and x of k's of real and imaginary part, they are becoming real signals, but they are not sure that all of them have become positive. So then these bipolar signals, suppose if any of the signal is like a sinusoidal signal like this, then we have to make this signal as totally positive signal. Either you have to clamp it to a level or cut off the negative side or do some distortion addition. Maybe if you cut off this negative value, some distortion is accumulated in your systems, but we'll judge what is that amount of accumulation, how much it is destroying the system and all, that depends. But always we have to make sure that it's real positive. We have to make real positive signal. Okay. So this real valued signal in optical domain, there are also not only this Hermitian, along with the Hermitian symmetry, we can employ some of the transform techniques like discrete Hartley transform, discrete cosine transform, discrete sine transform, and also we can employ some modulation, multivariate modulation techniques like Hadamard coded modulation, wavelet packet division multiplexing. So these kind of multivariate modulation techniques also we can use. So this DHT, DCT and DST, discrete cosine, discrete sine and discrete Hartley transform, right? How they work, we are going to see it in mathematical format. So discrete Hartley transform, DHT, okay? So are there any doubts in between? So you can stop me if you have any doubts in between, or you can give it in chat box so that I can reply to your messages. Okay. So this discrete Hartley transform based optical wireframe system, what is happening over here, we do the same. Instead of IFFT block, we are using IDHT block, okay? Inverse discrete Hartley transform. So this, using this inverse discrete Hartley transform, we can eliminate your Hermitian symmetry format where we have used earlier. So if you remember, if you go with IFFT, you have to use Hermitian symmetry. But discrete Hartley transform, cosine transforms, and sine transforms, if you use, you can eliminate your Hermitian symmetry block diagram. Okay. So these are some of the real value techniques, DHT, DCT, and DST, and other Hadamard coded modulation, wavelet packet division modulation. So first we'll look into discrete Hartley transform based optical wireframe. So in this discrete Hartley transform, only orange and pink color are additional blocks coming from wireless communication. The rest of the blocks are same. So in this IDHT, inverse discrete Hartley transform, how it is different? It has, because we need a real signal, right? So it function on cos and sine functions. So simply it is cos 2 pi n k by n plus sine 2 pi n k by n. So your input information x of k is multiplied by cos and sine. Earlier, if you give IFFT, then it is replaced by j, right? Some j formats. So to avoid this j, we have used Hermitian symmetry, HS. But here, when we are using a discrete Hartley transform, we are directly multiplying with the transform itself makes the signal to multiply with cos plus sine. There is no imaginary term. Cos 2 pi n k by n plus sine 2 pi and k by n. So it takes directly these formats that transform itself. So we can write this one as a Cas signal, cos 2 pi and k by n by capital N of Cas of this value. That means cos theta is sin theta plus, cos theta plus sin theta form. There is no j sin. Simply cos theta and sin theta. So using that is discrete Hartley transform. Discrete cosine transform, the formula is something different. We multiply with ck and a cos format, that is cos 2 pi to n plus 1 into k by 2n. Okay, this is cosine transform nature. So if you look at this cosine transform nature, there is no complex values in this signal present. That means the signals are always real. The output of your block is always real. Okay, and the inverse relation also we will multiply with ck x of n cos 2 pi cos pi into 2n plus 1 into k by 2n. Okay, and these ck's are designed as k equal to 0 root half and k equal to 1, 2, 3. When k goes from the rest of the all values, we keep only 1. Okay. So now the output of the signal may not be a positive always. So it has some value like this. Maybe some kind of an information is present at the output of the signal. So we have to make this one as real positive. Okay. So these real positive techniques, what we have considered is DC. We use some DC bias. So when you use to your LED, always some amount of a DC bias. So apart from your sinusoidal signal, if you use a DC bias like this and collect the information through a resistance of R, maybe I am using a DC bias of 5, my signal waveform is always between -5 to 5. Okay. So can anyone tell me what is the output of output across the R? Output across the R. We are adding a positive sinusoidal voltage and a DC voltage, right? So for you can see what is the output of your system. So DC is 5. So this value is 5 volts. On top of any answer?
Sinusoidal waveform above 5 volts.
Sinusoidal waveform above 5 volts. Okay, that means we are making your signal as always real and positive. So we made real by using the symmetry. We made real by using either Hermitian symmetry, discrete cosine transform, and discrete sine transform, right? And by adding a DC bias, we make all the signal is always positive. So these are all very simple techniques, but leads to a very good amount of work, and also many researchers are working even without using any Hermitian symmetry. Can it be possible that my signal can be made as real? Anyway, biasing we have to use it later. Okay. So in this work, we have also considered channel estimation in optical OFDM, which employs different transforms for VLC. Okay. So here the transmitted data and what we do in channel estimation. If anyone asks how do you do channel estimation, immediately we talk about the estimates, least square estimates. So least square, that is LS, MMSE estimate, and some kind of estimates are interpolation based channel estimations. Okay. So the system model, what we include here, ACO OFDM. So this ACO OFDM, how do we do? Just look at this, look into this one. This ACO OFDM means asymmetrically clipped optical OFDM. So we are clipping all the negative values. So we are keeping only the positive values into the consideration. So what we do, we generally for ACO OFDM over VLC communication channel. So here we did channel estimation, and the rest of the circuit is same. We use the same Hermitian symmetry and unipolar and bipolar clipping. and the channel estimation problems. So what are channel estimation techniques are available in wireless communication? Directly you can dump onto your VNC, we can test it, which one is functioning well. Okay. So the same emission symmetry is there, unipolar to bipolar is there, and there is a channel estimation block, and even remove the pilot what we have introduced after IFFT block. So in this asymmetrically clipped optical OFDM system, also we can use IDHT transform. So this one is using IFFT and channel estimation is used. So the next one is we'll use IDHT, then we introduce the channel estimation, okay, with each symmetry, Hermitian symmetry block, or each signal which makes real to positive signals. For all the systems, we can go through the channel estimation process. And also we can go for Hall-Shardmerd transform techniques. Okay, so in this one, Hall-Shardmerd transform techniques, we actually send n/2 subcarriers. Or this Hall-Shardmerd transform system takes n/2 subcarriers, and these n/2 subcarriers are appended with the 0th subcarrier. Then we add a cyclic prefix. So we make parallel to serial. Then we give it to optical channel, and the output is added by L2 wide Gaussian noise. It is received and converted into serial to parallel, and we remove the cyclic prefix, and we do the inverse Walsh-Hadamard transform technique. Okay, so fast Walsh-Hadamard transform and inverse fast Walsh-Hadamard transform is used so that we can recover your signals. How do you recover your signals? The first 0 to n/2. So 0 to n-1/2 till that point is given to remove pilot, and rest of the points are also given as remove pilot. So here we do the channel estimation, and rest of the things are parallel to serial conversion. Okay. Now, if you look at the mathematical orientation towards this concept is, by x of k, we are using x of nf plus 1. That means we map your signals for the 0th instance, and rest will keep only the data. Okay. So this is the mathematical implication. We also use the Hermitian symmetry. X of n minus k is equal to x conjugate of k, and we introduce those values. And we set up x of n minus k as a x conjugate of k. K is even, and it's 0, k is even. K is odd, and it is 0, k is even. So the input to the, now from here, if you go to the IFFT to got the following expression, we will be having x0, x1, 0, x3, and so on, so forth. Okay. So that means n/2 minus k is actually taking x conjugate of k, where k is reduced to n/4. Okay. So now we discretize this system. That means we need to compute x of n. The inverse of the Fourier transform, that is x of k e power j 2 pi n k by capital N 0 to n minus 1. And if you solve this equation, keep x of zeros and x of n by 4. What are the values? We are making them as 0. So this becomes into x of n as x of e, the summation of x of k e power j 2 pi n k, and x of k e power j 2 pi n k for that. So after apply and do transformation, and the resultant information becomes in this fashion: x of k 2 pi n by k plus x of n by 2 minus k dash into n by 2 minus k dash into n by capital N. Okay, and which we interchange the limits. We interchange the limit from 0 to k by 4 to 0 to about 2, and try to see how you can demodulate this system. Okay. So most of the mathematics just I am skipping because it is only normal operations of trigonometry. It is very easy subject, so that the real and imaginary part has become this fashion. IDHT format. So this IDHT format has become cos and sine, and 2kx of k real and 2kx of k is imaginary part. So this final format of this one looks in this fashion. Asymmetrically clipped optical OFDM system, ACO OFDM system, is becoming this in this way. Okay. So then we need to employ some amount of bias. So how do you compute the bias value for your LED? We know we need to conduct your LED, we need a cut-in voltage and a cut-off voltage, right? So this is cut-in voltage, and slowly it goes and maybe it conducts till the portion of uniformity. Once it reaches to a non-uniformity form, it cuts off, right? It cannot be conducted. So that means how much amount of DC bias is used for your optical wavetrain systems. So we take average of your signals, that is XCP of n. So this XCP of n is computed using cyclic prefix God interval is also introduced, and cyclic prefix are also introduced, and only 1/4 of the subcarrier size is used for your communication. Okay. So based on these formulas, that means we need to compute the average value of XCP of n and multiply by k. This k is actually a clipping factor. Okay. So this is there is a lot of literature available on this system, and the DC biased, how much amount of DC bias is added to the communication system. This literature is available on it. You can once go through it. So naturally, the DC bias of 7 dB, the DC bias of 7 dB is added, and okay. So the received electrical signal, now after adding the DC bias, we have the following formula where we have used R is the responsivity of your photodiode. Okay, that means your signal, unipolar signal, which we made conversion through either using all the transform techniques or with IFFT and your Hermitian symmetry, then that is convolved with the responsivity of your photodiode, added by the channel, that is multiplied with the convolved with the channel and added by edge-to-edge Gaussian noise. This is my received signal. Okay. So that means the convolution between these two. So we know what is the convolution between these two signals. X of k and h of x of n convolved with h of n, right? So that means h of n into x of n minus n is the convolution between 0 to n minus 1. And and responsivity, if you take it as 1, then this is the convolution between these two as becoming h of l x of n minus 1. Still it is unipolar, added by edge-to-edge Gaussian. Okay. Now, so generally this channel response of a visible light communication, they have conducted some experiments, and they came to one kind of an equation where it gives the line of sight and the line of sight paths are as well present in the channel, and this relays on this equation. So a big equation is there, APD m plus 1 by 2 pi d square cos m, so on and so forth. Okay, so this is called Lambert's mode number. So the Lambert mode number is specified by m, that is APD m plus 1, Lambert mode specified by number. So this is expressed in this format, which gives the directivity of LED and related to the semi-angle and power illumination. That is power illumination as psi of off. Psi of off is taken at 70 degrees. How it looks like. A big equation is given. So that means, if you remember your wireless communication, as always we talk about the multi-path signals, right? So when a transmitter is transmitting the signals, it comes through a multi-path effect. There is a line of sight, non-line of sight, to reflection, diffraction, refraction, everything is added together. So these paths are instantaneously coming at one instant of time. So we cannot differentiate between one path to the another path. The path length of each unit is approximately equivalent to the path length of your LOS component. That is line of sight component. Okay. So these equations are given, and it is being modeled. The channel is modeled like we place the receiver at the down, and we place the LED at the top of the ceiling. So what happens? The LED emits light, it falls on the walls and reflects back to the receiver. Okay, and also there is a possibility of a direct path from transmitter to the receiver. And so there is a field of vision is present at the receiving point. That means when the light ray undergoes some reflections, then the channel impulse response is actually represented in this fashion. That is H of n of non-line of sight component is over all the L paths H of n. What is H of n? Right? This channel model is very much important for our analysis purpose. And also several experiments are also conducted for arriving at this channel model of using a Lambert mode number by field of angle, this gain and other aspects. Okay. So the alphas are the radiance of a particular reflective surface and relative area of the small region. All these things are considered. And there is an optical concentration also we have used with a refractive index. If you use an optical concentration, that gain is G of V. So this gain is proportional to R square by sin square of psi of C. Okay, where this R is actually the refractive index of the optical concentrator, which is generally taken as 1.5. And the field of vision, that means the WC has taken a 60 degrees of field of vision like this. 60 degrees field of vision. Is there any channel model for, what is the question? Is there any channel model for optical MAM? So that depends on which optical communication you are doing. So are you going to do with visible light communication? Then the channel model has been proposed by the researchers of this nature. This is the channel model for visible light communication. For underwater communication, because of the sea turbulence and other effects, the additive wide Gaussian noise and other noise, the thunder noise, turbulence noise is also added to the system. Okay. If it is your fiber optic, and the different, apart from the additive wide Gaussian noise, the other refractive index and other angles of incidence of the light is also present. So the channel response is different. But for all these systems, they have contributed a lot, and they have measured through experimentally how a channel response looks like. Like to compute this channel response, we have to do the deconvolution. Like what we do, we transmit, right? And we receive. So in between there is a channel. I want to find the channel response H of n. So these are all empirical models. Yes, these are all empirical models. Depends on the environment where they are placed, and that depends on where the test bed they are being kept. So during that environment, so they have developed this equation. The empirical model has been developed. So my transmitted signal is X of n. So the received signal Y of n is generally we write X of n convolved with H of n plus W of n. Okay. Now I want to know what is H of n. So to know what is H of n, generally if you divide by X of n, but this is a convolution. So we have to do the deconvolution method. So using the deconvolution method, I can find out H of n. So these are all empirical models are given, and field of vision is taken at 60 degrees. The reflection factor is taken at 0.8. There are many papers are available on the channel model for visible light communication. So if you look at the frequency domain signal, looks like X of k, H of k. Now what we are what we want to take out, we want to take out h of k. So in the frequency domain, to extract h of k, if you force my division by x of k on other sides, so x of k and x of k, okay, force receiver. So ma'am, could you please tell about what is the topic? Could you please tell us the research challenges or emerging topics? Yeah, I'm going to come to that point after some point of time. Still some more time is there. And also you can see what we have done at laboratory. So force detection, so noise enhancement is happening. You can estimate your h of k. Right? So one of the method is least square channel estimation. So what we do, least square channel estimation, if the transmitted signal is known, we subtract the received signal from the transmitted signal, and we'll find the minimum value of that. That means the min of phi minus xh norm square we compute, and we make it to 0. So from there, what is the least square channel estimate, we can find out. Okay. So all these concepts are coming from only wireless communication. There is nothing new about it. So the same analysis is also done, carried out for your visible light communication. But this work has happened at the beginning. If you do the same work currently, that means in this century, in this year, you may not get any papers out of it, because these are all things are covered already in the literature. Okay. So my least square estimate is simply inverse of x you compute and multiply with the received signal, so we can obtain the channel estimate. Okay, and the minimum mean square error estimate. So what is the error happening when you estimate in this original channel to the real original channel and the estimate channel? We try to minimize that error. So that means h minus h hat norm square expectation we compute. So from there we can compute h MMSE estimate as the correlation of the channel and the y, and y and y inverse and y, that is the received signal. So this is actually auto covariance. Auto covariance between the received signal and cross covariance between the channel metric and the received signal. If you can compute, you can estimate the MMSE estimate. Okay, these are all some mathematics. The simple mathematics, which are very useful mathematics. And some channel estimations are based on interpolation. Okay, so we use a linear interpolation, spline interpolation, low pass interpolation. So this linear interpolation of the channel estimate, what we do at the data subcarrier is obtained by the estimation of two adjacent pilot subcarriers, two adjacent pilot subcarriers we take. So we do those estimations between the response between these two, and we compute the correlation among these two, how much correlation is there. Based on, we try to obtain the next estimate. Okay, so like that we can do the interpolation based estimates. Like if you look at this waveform, xp of 0, xp of 1, xp of 0, xp of 1, xp of 2. So in between we are estimating, in between what is the point. Some smooth connection we are making between one point to the another point using interpolation. So after solving so many equations, these are all very simple mathematics. Solving so many equations, we can find out the channel estimate. Okay, and other signal is the low pass interpolation system. So what we do in the low pass interpolation system, we insert L-1 additional zeros. So there are 5 samples are there, but we have introduced 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 more samples in between, and we pass the signal to digital low pass filter. So it becomes interpolated waveform. After passing this kind of waveform, that means we are calculating the middle point. We are calculating the middle point based on the first point and the third point. We are calculating the middle point. This is called interpolation process. And also we computed the bit error rate of this communication system. So we know the probability computations at a given instant of time. That means the jet is additive white Gaussian noise as the bell shape, and SNR is signal powered by effective noise power we compute. So based on that, we have obtained the probability of error equations as well. So if you see the waveforms while computation of the probability of error of a symmetrically clipped optical wave tune system depends on ACO for 2 QAM, 4 QAM, 8 QAM, 16 QAM, 32, 64, 256, and so on. So this number is increased. So we can see the worst scenario. So 10, 24 QAM order model, right? The 2 QAM order model has low BER. Then we are increasing from 2 QAM to 1024 QAM. The probability of error we are obtaining at the same value we are obtaining at high SNR input, high SNR signal. Okay. Similarly, for PSK also computed. So these are all BER plots for different variants. So we can see some of the papers in AUE journal, International Journal of Electronics and Communications, and wireless person multimedia communications, that is WPMC. Okay. So the another problem in multi-carrier communication is peak to average power ratio. Okay. So this peak to average power ratio, because why it is important in LED scenarios, that is also important. In wireless communication, the peak to average power ratio is very much important, because when you do the subcarrier levels, so at some of the instances, all subcarriers are transmitting 11111 signal, let us take, in the real time. Okay, then when all signals are 111, the output of each subcarrier is also correspondingly more. That means the maximum power it has been reached to some of all these powers. So power of 5, right? So each power is 1. Then some of them, suppose there are n subcarriers are there, it becomes n times p. This is the maximum power it is reaching. So then we normalize. We take the average value of the transmitted signal. We'll give the definition of first. We'll give the definition of PAPR in LED models. Okay, so we used the partial transmit sequence, clipping and filtering, and spreading techniques, and a few more techniques are also proposed in some other work to reduce the peak to average power ratio in wireless visible light communication. So what we did to reduce the PAPR, we have used a DST based spreading of your input. That means in any point of time, suppose your inputs also are 1, okay, but if you spread them along a larger range, like 1, 0, 1, some in between points are also included into a spreading. So the average value of the signal sum of x of n by the maximum value, if you take x of n, some formula if you are taking, naturally this by introducing this spreading, the average value of the signal is going to come down. Okay, the same, the PAPR analysis also we do the same. We try to bring down the value of the transmitted signal to a normal value, to a minimum value, to an average value, so that your LED never gets saturated. If you see the regions, that is VI characteristics of an LED, because we know the turn on voltage, it gets at on time, and it goes to the saturation if it is reaching to a forward voltage of some extent here. So then if you are passing your signal at this level, that means it is all clipped off. It's all clipped off. It cannot be transmitted through your LED system. Okay, so it cannot emit light. So we are losing the information. So we are restricted to operate your system only in this range, that is T on to V on to V saturated voltage. So, but we are not sure always we can your transmitted signal lies only in this region, because of that depends upon what is the input is given to the system. If the input, if we were some point of time, if all inputs are 1, maybe your input goes beyond this value. then naturally this voltage is getting clipped off. It cannot be transmitted. Okay. So we use the spreading technique. Little mathematics I am just ignoring because it takes long time to go through each component of the transmitter, each component of the equations. So we take first DCT and its inverse DCT formulas. Earlier also we have mentioned what is DCT and inverse DCT. It is multiplied with a cos by 2m plus 1 into k by 2n. That is x of m is your input voltage. It is also multiplied by Ck. Okay. So to make your signals, all signals are only in the real domain, and Ck is also maintained. So now this is an endpoint DCT and IDCT formula. So P point DCT we take from 0 to m minus 1. This is my P point DCT. So this x of m is assigned to actually to odd subcarriers, right? There are n point DCT operation. N point DCT operation we are computing. But what we are doing, the input is x of m. This x of m is assigned to odd subcarriers. Out of n, only to the odd subcarriers. That means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like this. Odd subcarriers are 1, 3, 5. So on your x of n are supported onto your odd subcarriers. So that means even subcarriers are made 0. We are not transmitting anything. We are not using the even subcarriers. Only odd subcarriers are being used. So that means all the even subcarriers are made 0. Only odd subcarriers left out. So on this signal, this endpoint, if you perform endpoint DCT, that is the above equation is IDCT. The below operation is DCT. So if you apply the DCT operation, right, this OFDM sequence will become in this fashion. YH, Ci, Y2 of J. Why we are using Y2 of J? Only we are using odd subcarriers. That means out of n, only P subcarriers are used. So H equal to 0 to 2P minus 1. After substituting all these values, this is your Y and where X is given. Okay. So if Y is positive, we use the same Y. Otherwise, we'll make it as 0. So we are clipping off. So the clipping distortion is now introduced into the systems. Earlier, in Hermitian symmetry, we have not used any clipping. But in DCT, we are using the clipping operation as well to maintain all your signals are real and positive signals. So it introduces some amount of clipping noise. So this PAPR reduction using partial transmit sequence technique in DCT based multi-carrier systems. What we do, we compute IDCT through several formats. So that means we make block of outputs. So these block of outputs are passed to the IDCT, and we multiply the IDCT output with necessary weights, updated weights, and we add all of them. Also, we send some side information to computation of your multiplication factors. And now we make unipolar to bipolar to unipolar, and we add cyclic effects, and we'll give it this output to LED. Okay. So what happens in this partial transmit sequence? So instead of one time, how many times we are transmitting? We are transmitting L minus 1 times. The complexity of PLS has been increased. Okay. If it is spreading, we just spreaded your input. But whereas in partial transmit technique, we are doing in the middle, so it is increasing the complexity of the system as well. So if you do all this analysis, we come to a PAPR reduction formula that is 10 log 10 of maximum value of your transmitted signal square by the average value of your transmitted signal square. Okay, so that PAPR, this is the PAPR formula, and we minimize the argument. So we will obtain the clipping factor, and under clipping ratio and lower clipping ratio is also defined. So now we look at this diagram. So what is happening? There are one receiver, one laptop, and is in another laptop, and some devices are also present. So it is happening line of sight and non-line of sight communication. Non-line of sight communication. That means uplink and downlink visible light communication in a particular indoor environment. And this is designed. Also, we can do different kind of subcarrier mapping. That is distributed frequency division multiple access, IFDMA, interleaved frequency division multiple access, localized frequency division multiple access. So these are many other techniques. Suppose if you take an endpoint DFT as unequal to 8, okay, so those 8 are placed x1 to x of 8. And how do you do subcarrier mapping? We are increasing the number n. Earlier they were 8, now we are making it as 16, okay? And in between subcarriers, we are making nulls. In between subcarriers, we are making nulls using the above formula. So now it becomes a 16-point IFFT format. So x1 to x16. This is called frequency interleaved division multiple access signal format. So OIFDMA, the reverse process is also maintained using the DFT spreading, and some mathematical equations are continued. I'm not going through all the math because time is not permit. And frequency division multiple access, just skip the multiple access systems. The next one is also we have computed the DCT and FST based optical OFDM complexities. It is an interesting slide. For DCT, how many number of additions, how many number of multiplications? Okay, so the number of additions are 3n log n minus 2n plus 1 by 2, and multiplications are n log n by 2. These are the multiplications required. Okay. For a DCT, for DFT, 3n log n minus 3n plus 4. But whereas the multiplications, if you go through the multiplications, ni log n minus 3n plus 4. So that means the DCT, the number of multiplications are reduced. Okay. And DFT requires these many more number of additions and requirements. So this is the configuration of your DCT based ASO FDM data rate is also computed, and that's not important to us. So similarly, DST based multi-carrier and multiple access systems are also computed. Okay. So with this math, I'm just moving to another topic, which is a very interesting topic, because this math is based on purely the opening of cos and sine, opening of the discrete values. It's a very easy mathematics. So endpoint DST and its inverse are taken. So DCO based PIPR analysis is also computed, partial transmit PIPR are also computed, and then clipping and filtering, partial clipping and filtering also, this one is computed. Then computational complexity between DFT and DCT based optical OFDM systems. I have shown you the values of computations of log based on the log normals. Okay, so these are some of the results we obtained for DST and DFT optical OFDMs. Anyway, so this similar to your wireless communication, the same multiple access schemes can be applied to your visible light communication. So just I'm skipping this content. So only mathematical opening of the equations are important. So for different cases of effect of the symbol time offset, okay, this is also an important topic in communication. one is channel estimation and another one is STO estimation, symbol time offset estimation, and frequency offset estimation. Anyway, frequency we don't consider here in visible light communication because we are all operating on based on the light. We are not externally supplying any carrier frequency to the systems like your RF, right? So that is not important. That means frequency offset is not important, but symbol time offset is very much important in visible light communications. So what is a symbol time offset? In a frame structure, we take some God interval and a symbol time. So that means in the blue color, during the symbol time, we transmit your original signals. Then we use some God interval. Okay, that means that is your cyclic prefix or cyclic suffix. Then again we go for transmission of your symbols. Okay, so this is any system. Suppose we are transmitting over a length of symbols. Lth symbol, L plus 1th symbol, like that you are going on. If you take any of the Lth symbol, okay, there are possible cases are possible in symbol time offset. The case 1 is, what is case 1? The blue color. The case 2 is red color, purple color, again red color. Okay. So what the case 1 says, that means after the cyclic prefix, we are starting your transmission. So this is exactly matching with your data symbol. So where the data symbol has to start, it has to start after TZ. So your data symbol also started exactly at TZ, right? Is there any offset present because of this kind of a transmission? Some response from the faculty members, from the interested students, because continuously I am talking on the subject. You people are quietly listening to it. I wanted to know whether it is easy subject or whether it is a hard subject. Okay, medium. Okay, no problem. It's not at one point of time you cannot get everything. You have to do some practice. So that is the case 1. The case 2 is maybe the received signal, that is the symbol time offset, is happening middle of your cyclic prefix, right? Also it can happen at the edge of the cyclic prefix of the beginning, right? Maybe it can happen all the time. It starts, that means the received signal exactly starts at cyclic prefix itself. So then how do you estimate this symbol time offset? Okay, so this symbol time offset is estimated, it is actually a timing instant. We have to work on the timing instances of your IFFT block and what is x of n. At symbol time offset, suppose a delta is happening. So at that delta, that means x ln of n plus delta, what is the output? The output is taken from your xl of u, that is your inputs, and multiplied by e power j 2 pi n plus delta plus u by n. This introduction is because of your symbol time offset. Okay. So therefore, the signal receives under the effect of STO. So if it is under the effect of STO, it value is XL of u. But because of STO, it is being introduced a factor of delta. XL of n plus delta e power minus j minus 2 pi n k by n. Okay. So now satisfy the emission symmetry and what is your received signal, we accumulate at one place, and finally the received signal of the optical volume under the effect of STO, that is symbol offset, is estimated here. This is all preliminary mathematics, very easy mathematics. There is no harsh in like manipulating in the vector analysis, differentiations, integration. No, it is only very simple mathematics. So finally we come to your y of n formula. So y of n is obtained like this, and also we have considered synchronization, but there are some mistakes in this synchronization. I'm not going to present the synchronization effect. So maybe I'll skip all these mathematics. And frequency estimation also we computed, but it's not important at this juncture. I'll go to the next topic. So we can find some of the papers what we have published out of this research work. My student Shishila and Kishore and Ganesh, they're all they're all worked in visible light communication, and they have presented a very good number of they come up with very good number of publications. It's not some of them are IEEE Sensor Journal and elsewhere journals. Okay. So we can see the list of the publications what we have done out of these simple mathematics. This ACO OFDM employing different transform techniques is one paper, and synchronization in visible light communication that came in IEEE Sensor Journal, and LO PAPR multi-carrier and multiple access scheme for VLC. This came in optic communications. Okay, and the another paper came in IEEE journal, IEEE Sensor Journal, that is a survey paper, performance analysis of DST based intensity modulated and direct detection systems, and then effects of frequency offset, timing offset, and some of the conferences and some of the references what we have used are also presented here. Okay, this is a one kind of work. This is a very preliminary work on visible light communication based on only transforms, how to make a complex signal into a real positive signal. Okay, real positive signal. Now I am moving to the another concept, another technique where without Hermitian symmetry, without using any transforms, we could manage to modulate the signal through LED. Okay, that is another area. So till now, are there any doubts?
Madam?
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Madam, what is the maximum data rate we could achieve with the help of this VLC?
Okay. So people are targeted at 100 Mbps, but in our laboratory we achieved because the distance also we have maintained. I'll show you our test bed, how we have constructed the test bed. I'll show you the test bed, and at the max we have achieved up to 20 Mbps. But by using a powerful LED and a powerful photodetector, and we have not used any optical concentrator.
Up to the distance, madam? Up to the distance?
Distance is also only we have measured at half meter, not more than that. After a half meter, the signal is wiped off. So what we have decided, we have to go for high power LEDs and high power photodiodes, and in between we have to place a focusing lens.
So whether the medium is wireless medium or wired medium?
It is a wireless medium, naturally.
Wireless medium.
Because
what about the consideration of obstacles in between transmitter and
receiver? We have considered our laboratory. Where we sit in the lab, there are tables, benches, almirahs, bookshelves, everything is present, systems are present. So in that environment, we have a big lab of 10 meters distance.
What could be the possible real-time application, madam, for this VLC?
This is an alternative for your Wi-Fi. So in some of the places, because if you come to our NIT Warangal, there are few buildings are there. When you go for a conference, the number is also increasing, right? The number of devices which are accessing the Wi-Fi are also increasing. At that point of time, through VLC, we can alternatively access your Wi-Fi because already the spectrum is crowded. The number of devices deployed into the network is also crowded. So the network may not be able to give the full length of data rate. So then at that instant of time, we can go for alternative technology like visible light communication. So if you can
through LED, we will get only a light spectrum, madam.
Yes, light spectrum only.
Light spectrum towards the target.
Yeah.
But it will not be distributed to the entire room, madam.
That's what. That is what
in a room, audience will be sitting in an omnidirectional manner. All directions participant can be seated.
No problem.
And they want to access data.
Yeah. In any direction they sit, no problem. Only the distance wise, that means you have to keep the hot spots nearby places. If you consider a 10 by 10 rooms by size, maybe at least 5 to 6 hotspots of the VLC if you place in that room, I can access my data through VLC communication.
But LED will emit only directional beams, no, madam?
Not directional beams. When there is a reflection, it also comes through non-line of sight, right? I have shown you the equation, the first H of n equation.
H of n is impulse response of the system, no, madam?
Impulse response of the channel.
So
this channel is measured how? By transmitting the signal, we receive the signal at the receiver. Then from there, they found out using the deconvolution method how the channel looks like. Okay, so I have to go back to the beginning. H of n, I have mentioned in the beginning of my system. A lot of work has been already done. We were discussing about the channel metric, how it looks like. Yes. You see, the impulse response corresponding to the line of sight link. Vasu class lo unnanu 4:30 ki ayipotundi appudu meet avudam. Okay. Okay. This is the channel response. Okay. I'll show you our test bed, how we have done it. This is one area where we have been contributed a lot to the visible light communication, because that time when we started the work, it is the very beginning of the research. So we could able to publish some papers on it. So the next work is on spectral energy efficient modulation schemes, and the implementation is used for practical VLC systems. Okay. So we'll see what are the practical. Maybe time may not be sufficient to go through all the mathematics, but I'll show you what kind of a test bed we have established in our laboratory. So here, if you look at this diagram, earlier before IFFT modulation, if you remember, we have used a Hermitian symmetry block, right? Now the Hermitian symmetry block is removed. What we have done, subcarrier assignment is reframed. accordingly to make our output signal as a direct bipolar signal. That means a real-time signal using a subcarrier alignment. So the rest of the procedure is same. If you remember DCO OFDM, that is direct current optical OFDM, at the first subcarrier and the middle subcarrier will make zeros, and the first subcarrier is transmitted as it is. The next subcarriers are actually the complex conjugate of the first. This is using Hermitian symmetry. Okay. And optically, asymmetrically clipped OFDM, we use alternate subcarriers. We don't use all the subcarriers, so that when you are going for alternate subcarriers, the data rate is going to decrease. So in PAM DMT, pulse amplitude modulator discrete modulation tone, we use your signals P1, P2, P3. The middles are zeros, P3, P2, P1. So there is no complex conjugate, there is no Hermitian symmetry over here. Okay. So there are some kind of modulation techniques. And also we have used GFDM. Anyway, it's a different concept. I'm just ignoring that one. The GFDM is a complex system. So you see the VLC channel are describing line of sight and non-line of sight components produced using the same reference 31. That means 31 is the model H of n is used. One transmitter and receiver are placed in these different directions. The transmitter is at one place, receiver is at the different place. So there is a wall. So that means it is getting reflected and received at this point. There is always a line of sight component may be present. So LOS from transmitter to the receiver, and from the reflections also it is receiving. It is similar to your wireless communication. Okay, this is the line of sight channel, non-line of sight and line of sight channels. So for LOS, the equation is different. For non-LOS, the equation is different. This is the equation we have considered. And the responsivity is the convolution between channel and the input, and the responsivity of the photodiode added by additive white Gaussian noise. So I'm not concentrating on the GFDM receiver. So here we have computed the power spectral density of a GFDM system through an analytical formula. And so we have used LED models, different LED models. I'm going to show you the test bed implementation. So these signals are real-time signals. So actually what we have done, we have taken a software-defined radio platform, SDR platform. We know that NI is supporting ESRPs, where we can radiate the signals into the air, right? So what we have done, we have given your input. This is your input using your Hermitian symmetry and all the algorithms. Then that output is given to ESRP. I'll show you the diagram once it comes. Then after the ESRP output, there is an antenna generally is present. We remove this antenna. What we have done, we have connected a driver circuit. Then this output is given to diode. At the receiver, wirelessly, we have placed a photodiode. So light falls on it. And again, it is passed through a ESRP using a driver circuit. All the built-in circuit is available. Using a ESRP, then ESRP output is used for the detection. So the advantage of software-defined radio platform is everything we can write your code in the software and dump it onto the hardware device. That is easy, right? So these are all real-time outputs. Real-time outputs. In-phase component signal, out-of-phase component signal, and for TCO GFDM signal and different orders of the signal, the spectrum of the received spectrum and the transmitted spectrum. Okay, for different scenarios are noted down. and these are the some of the parameters we have to set. We have set for the communication, and in this one, without Hermitian symmetry, we have translated the signal to a format of MI is translated to JMI, such that the output becomes, when it comes to the IFFT format, it becomes similar to your X of n minus capital N minus K is equivalent to X conjugate of K format, without using any Hermitian symmetry block. We used using the auxiliary symbols, right? So we use a congregation into the F domain OFDM symbol, and also a complementary of it is also computed, auxiliary symbol calculation. So through that it is given to IFFT block. It makes equivalent to your Hermitian symmetry. But anyway, the complexity wise, both are same. Either use a Hermitian symmetry or use another circuit diagram, which makes your signal, when you apply to IFFT output must be equivalent to real. Okay. So that means in a 4 auxiliary PAM implementation, we take original data at the 0th position, and rest of the n by 2 positions we take original data. At middle of the position we have one symbol duration, we have n by 2 is also 0, then we use Hermitian symmetry data, right? But in using this kind of auxiliary symbol calculations, we have calculated auxiliary symbols, original data, and added with auxiliary symbol data. Okay, this is the difference. That means without using Hermitian symmetry, we could be able to develop a system which makes equivalent to auxiliary, which makes equivalent to your Hermitian symmetry format. So we need a lot of mathematics over here. Just I'm skipping that mathematics. So these are all real-time received signals. So just look at the test bed what we have deployed at our laboratory. Okay, I open this one and make it a bigger view. Can you see the setup in a clear picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what we have done in our lab, so this is a typical laboratory, right? So one is used as a transmitter. This PC, this is written for transmitter. The code is written here in the receiver. For picturization, we kept both the systems together. Otherwise, we have maintained at least half-meter distance. Okay. So in this one, the transmitter and receiver, we have written everything code in LabVIEW. So we have used National Instruments LabVIEW. It is a software so that the software output can be given to a hardware. So what is the hardware? That is TX USRPs are the hardwares. USRP is my SDR platform. So if you see the USRP output, there is a blue color light is glowing, right? So there is a blue color light is glowing. So this is my LED. So where we have placed our LED, we have removed the antenna, we placed the LED driver circuit. Then we also have used a bias T because some real output is coming here. So the real output is coming here, something like this. Okay, then so maybe it is positive and negative. So always we have to make positive. So we have used a bias T. Bias T, what it does, it takes two inputs and combines both of them and gives only one output. So that means it takes AC and it takes some DC voltage, combines both of them. The output is some real output. So that is a DC bias. And because we cannot place the photodiode onto the top of the ceiling or some other place where it can hang, what we did, we placed on top of a stand. This is the stand. So this is my photodiode. Okay, this is the receiver. So the receiver output is connected to USRP and some power signal. UPSC is also there for the DC bias. So output is connected to USRP, the ESRP output is connected to the LabVIEW PC. So here we did all the decoding algorithm written in LabVIEW. We could be able to decode the signals. If you look at the transmitted signal are 2 dots. So transmitted signals are 2 dots. The received signal is scattered. If you see the concentration diagram, the received signal is scattered. Okay, this is because of the noise present in the environment. Wireless noise, that means the channel noise plus additive wide Gaussian noise. So see the typical setup of visible light communication test bed, how it is constructed without using any Hermitian symmetry. This is generated using an auxiliary symbols. So we have taken a data source. Auxiliary PAM modulator is employed. That means written the code in NI LabVIEW, and we have added some preambles, upsampled it and pulse shaping, because generally what we do in communication, the zeros and ones, right? They will be translated into a negative signal and a positive signal. So, right? That means we use either a root raised cosine pulse or some other kind of pulses or a rectangular pulse. So that is the reason we are using a pulse shaping filter, using a root raised cosine pulse and a Dirichlet pulse as well. Then we did up conversion of similar to your USRP. Then the USRP output is given to bias T, and DC bias is also applied to bias T. We have designed our own LED driver circuit. Right? Then what we did, so in our LED lamp, we found there are many small LEDs are present. So from that lamp, from the household lamp, we have taken one LED for testing purpose. The same LED is used, and there is an optical channel is present that is passed through the photodiode. Photodiode we have purchased from Thar Labs. I'll show you what are the components we have used for this test bed. Thar Labs. Then it has its own impedance amplifier. So this output is given to the USRP, and the similar rest of the thing is same, like your matched filter, synchronization, channel estimation. We remove the preamble and we demodulate the auxiliary PAM. We convert them into the original data sync. Okay. So this is a typical USRP based, software defined based platform for showing the wireless communication between transmitter and receiver using visible light communication. Are there any doubts?
Ma'am, is there any specific range of the USRP can only be used for this kind of research?
The range of USRP, you are meaning to say?
USRP, there is an X series, N series versions are available, ma'am.
We used N series.
N series.
N to 10. We have used N to 10. Yeah. Yes. X series also we have. We have used X series as well as N series. But for this specific application, I guess in this photograph, this is N series.
Okay.
Are there any other doubts? Okay. People are asking for research challenges, right? So you can see all what are the typical experimental setup parameters we have kept for this experiment. So you can see the electrical transmitted power is only 4 milliwatt. 4 milliwatt is the transmitted power. And LED is actually 16 watt LED is used. 16 watt LED. The distance is 1.5 meters to 0.5 meters to 1.5. So when you are going to 1.5 meters, the BER is very, very, very low. And IQ sampling rate we have used. And the pulse shaping RRC filter is used, and with a roll-off factor of 0.2 and a oversampling factor of 2. So you can typically see the transmitted signal and the received signal. These two are real-time outputs. So my transmitter data transmitted at a 0th instant. But if you look at the receiving window, I am receiving after some amount of time, right? So because I have to estimate this tau delta, the time. After estimation of this tau delta, I can fix my window. So that means I have to start from here only. I have to start detection. So this finding of this tau delta is called synchronization of the system. So we have to construct a synchronization mechanism first, and all your block diagrams, everything is written in LabVIEW software. Then that code is dumped onto the USRP, but it is wirelessly transmitted using LED, not through your antenna. Your antenna we have replaced. So see, the performance analysis of the estimated distance with respect to distance, 1.6 meters is the distance. If you look at the estimated SNR, what we received is nearly, it is going down to 8 dB SNR. And also the bit error rate, if you look at the bit error rate for different values of SNR, we can see 10 to the power of 0, 1, 2, 3. At high SNR, I am getting 10 to the power of -3. But if you closely maintain the distance, then the PR rate is very good.
In OFDM here, what kind of modulation is used?
So we have used same OFDM only. Using instead of admission symmetry is replaced with auxiliary band
Okay.
AX modulator.
So can we use any kind of QAM or phase shift keying modulation scheme in that OFDM block?
Yeah, before OFDM, you can map your signal to any level. QAM, PAM, PSK, FSK, any PAM, then it will give you your measurement will be your OFDM. Okay, so the people are asking the new challenges in visible light communication. So there are some new challenges, like I did not talk about the optical concentrator, right? So the light emits the signal, then it is wirelessly transmitted. We placed a photodiode. Without any optical concentrator, we have collected the information. So then it falls on the LED, we have done the rest of the analysis. Instead, we can place a concentrator between the transmitter and the receiver, so that the whole information is collected through a concentrator. It makes a beam, then narrowly it will be communicated. The huge light falls on your LED, so that naturally the performance of your system is going to increase. So this focusing lens is also another material being used for this, making the focusing lens. That depends on the properties. You can acquire the focusing lens and conduct the similar experiment at your laboratory. Definitely you will get very good result. That is the one where we did not do it. We could not obtain the focusing lens. Okay, that is the one place we missed out. But we are trying for that to acquire the focusing lens. The another one is, these are all light LEDs, because we have to we are already using a light post in the streets, and those lights are white LED lights only, right? So during daytime, what will happen? Let me take. So anyway, I did not use any focusing lens, but during daytime, can your photodiode differentiate between a daytime light? Because any light falls on the photodiode, it collects the light and it measures the output, right? So in the during daytime, the sunlight also falls on the LED photodiode, as well as the light emitting diode also falls on it. That means there is a huge disturbance is there, and naturally the sunlight is more powerful than your LED light emitting diode. Okay, so how to remove this sunlight and to detect your original signal? This is one of the area where people started working on it. Okay, so this is of disturbance, because I am saying that LED communication can be used for your vehicle to vehicle. It's not necessary all the time vehicles are running on the road only during the day, night time. No, right? So they run on daytime, they run on night time. Irrespective of the time of the day, they should be able to communicate between one car to the other car, one machine to the other machine. If sunlight present on the day, then naturally the power absorbed by your photodiode is very less. Not very less. It is solar power as well as the white light. Both together are coming. So from the solar power, we have to extract the solar power. How much solar power is present in my received signal? This is one of the new area where people started working on it. Okay. The another area is vehicle to vehicle communication. So my LED is placed. Photo emits, and then another LED. So both are moving. This is also moving, this is also moving, right? Then it has to estimate the positions between these two, how much distance they are maintaining, and the other aspects of distance estimates we can measure. So position to position vehicular communication. This is one of the another area. Similar to this, already a lot of work has been done on lasers. And why can't we use color diodes? Yes, we can use color diodes, but the power of your eye, when it receives through a color information, right? So there is a huge burden on your eye. That is another area where people are working using color LEDs. Is another area where people are working on it. Like that, you can expand many other areas. Okay, in the vehicular communication, the position location estimates using visible light communication, where you can use machine learning. So my current student is started working on machine learning for visible light communication. Okay. So yeah. Emma, you can ask the question. So one raise their hand. You can ask your questions. Okay.
MIMO and other schemes that we are using for our RF communication, will it be possible in VLC also, ma'am?
Yes, it is possible. Everything, whatever is available in the RF is directly dumped into VLC.
Okay.
We can also use array of LEDs, not a single LED. We can use some array of LEDs. And how do you mix your input to give it to all the LEDs? The circuit diagram design and some CMOS operations. So construction of the diodes, color diodes, their material characteristics. There are many open areas in visible light communication. For image processing also they use visible light communication. For vehicular communication, they wanted to use visible light communication. In military also they want to use visible light communication. In many areas, people wanted to use visible light communication. And also definitely in 6G, this will become one of the standard. VLC will become one of the standard. Definitely it will be used as an alternative technology for your Wi-Fi. Are there any doubts? Or if you have anything you wanted to ask? So it is open for question and answer session. And also there is one opening project, that is Junior Research Fellow. Position is opened in my lab to work on this system, visible light communication system for industrial IoT. Exchange of information in the industries using visible light communication. So people are interested, they can send me their biodata to me, and yeah, if your resume suits to my lab, to my area, then definitely I'll keep a call with the candidate. And also he can continue he can register for his PhD work from this project. After working for a semester, you can convert to a full-time PhD scholar. So anything more? So if you don't have any other doubts, so maybe I can wind up the class. So especially we work with a lot of mathematics. So explaining everything in this class. So we have proposed a timing estimation algorithm also, and we have written code for this timing estimation algorithm in LabVIEW. We have implemented in real time. We have obtained a very good result for this timing estimation using a correlation method. So this is our designed VLC circuit, driver circuit. So STR input it is taking, a DC bias also it is taking, you see. So both are mixed, right? STR input means your complex real signal after Hermitian symmetry. A real signal and a DC bias are mixed together, and they are passed through a diode. Different aspects of the signal scenarios are considered. Timing synchronization is calculated. One algorithm is developed, and the blind synchronization algorithm is also developed. These blind synchronization algorithm is present in the wireless. Just slightly we have modified according to visible light communication. Okay. If there are no doubts, then maybe I can wind up this class, or you are free to talk. Will it be possible to work with GNU radio instead of LabVIEW? Yes, it is possible. If you are familiar with GNU radio, but the GNU radio output, you have to give it to the LED. Those specifications, how to design a driver circuit, you have to work on it. Yeah.
Any other queries by the participants? Okay. If there are no query, Madam, thank you very much for your very informative and wonderful session, ma'am. So we are very thankful to you.
Thank you. But it's not a relevant topic.
No, it is. VLC is a part of 5G. That is why we have designed VLC, ma'am. Because 5G, it is in the 5G they are expecting, especially in US countries, they are planning VLC.
Yeah.
And some other countries like the South Asian countries, they are planning FSO.
Yeah.
So I think this VLC, which is developed, and Li-Fi is also taking up very fast.
Yeah.
So therefore, the Li-Fi is going to be a part of the Li-Fi VLC. All are part of the 5G, ma'am.
Yeah.
Madam, we can stop the sharing screen, ma'am.
Yes.
So, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. We'll get back to you in email, ma'am.